welcome to a solo episode, but continuing our recap series in the off season. So this week we'll be going through a couple teams, starting in Savages with Shane. Then we're gonna move over to TTG and end up with Bankhead. So, unfortunately, I was gonna be joined by Bank and Shani. They both had prior engagements, timing issues, so stuck with just me. But hopefully I can entertain you long enough. So let's start off with Shane's team, looking here. And he has a very strong lineup. He made it to the semifinals this year, where he lost to me in the semifinals, I believe. Had me worried there for a bit after he smoked, I believe, Tico. No, Tico's in the bottom bracket, but he smoked somebody in the first round. And his team just collapsed. I think McCaffrey was hurt again. But he has a strong starting lineup. But he's kind of pigeonholed himself. You see, he's already having to start Robbie Anderson. He kind of had a good year. Brandon Cooks. He does have Kenny Galladay, but that's it for the bench. That's his only real legit player that I see of any value on the bench. He's one injury away from disaster with a bunch of meh on his bench. James Conner, I don't even know if he'll have a home. I mean, I think he's going to be the veteran backup for some random team and only get playing time if there's a starter. I don't think Pittsburgh brings him back. He has a solid defense, can't really fault him that. He didn't put in IDP yet. But just from what I'm seeing, he's going to make the playoffs again, yeah, but I think he gets stuck in the current quarterfinals this year, doesn't even make it to the semis. He just doesn't have the draft capital to even fix the situation. He's got a hit on some third, fourth round picks here. They're late third and fourth round picks. Shani's, I think Shani missed out this year, but still, it's a fourth rounder we're talking about. And if you even go to the next year, third, fourth. He has mortgaged the future on these starters. And I love Christian McCaffrey, but he's been hurt now. He's a running back. His value is only going to get lower as he gets older. Rodgers is 36, 37 now. He's getting up there. Yes, we're a one quarterback league, but how much longer can he be MVP level? And he doesn't have the quarterback of the future on the team right now. So one injury to Rodgers and he's screwed. I don't like the position he's put himself in. And I think he's one injury away. I said he's going to make the playoffs, but he's an injury away from being a 10, 11, 12 team, like in the bottom of the standings. Let's move on to TGT's Savage team, so I don't have to switch over everywhere. I like it. He's got a solid young core to build around. They underperformed last year. I mean, this team straight up underperformed. I think, where did he finish? TTG was 11th place. His team was much, much better than that. And he has interesting arms on both sides of the ball, like Patrick Queen. I think he's going to be a stud. He's got some solid players. But it's got to be said, man, his love for Philly kind of bites him in the ass sometimes. That Barkley trade he made at the beginning of the year still hurts when I think about it, and that's even with Barkley getting hurt. His depth is the same problem as Shane. Just a bunch of names here. Nobody that's really scaring you. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, he's kind of a joke at this point. But his tight end position does have some talent. So he's got Dallas Goedert, who should have a bounce back season. He'll be the only Philly tight end. Cole Kmet showed some promise. Gerald Everett shown some, him. His tight end position, I would try to flip something here, maybe to get another receiver or running back, just something else that I can count on for some more points than what I currently have on my bench. He has 3 second-round picks, and I think that's going to be a big deal for him, is that if he can turn these 3 second-round picks into some positive players that have upside, players that are going to improve, or at least just be there in case an injury happens, I think TTG's team could really take off. I don't think it's going to happen this year, though. I don't think it makes a ton of noise this year. He doesn't have the studs. He has good players, but not studs. So I think he sneaks into the playoffs, possibly. He might miss out just barely. I think he's in that 6 to 8 window in terms of standings. Um, I'm leaning towards the bottom half, though, for this season. So let's go over to survival for TTG. Again, you can see Miles Sanders there, nice and proud. The fact of the matter is TTG could open a retirement home with the names of his receivers. He got a nice year out of Aguilar, Riger, and Lockett, who's already been overtaken by DK. This isn't horrible. You're hoping for a lot from Rager for a guy who had only 300 yards or so receiving, and Aguilar, who did nothing prior to this season. But you scroll down, he's got Phillip Rivers as a backup quarterback, Andy Dalton as a backup quarterback in a Superflex league. He's got Julian Edelman, Larry Fitzgerald. It's just not a pretty sight down here. He nicknamed himself RB University, but there's a problem with that. Is that the running back position has the shortest shelf life. I agree. His running back depth is stellar. Todd Gurley, well, that kind of fell out, off the handle. Then this guy, his value is gone. But you still have Mixon here, and I know he's trying to flip him for something. He wants to make sure he gets as much value as possible, but the clock's ticking. Another injury to any one of these running backs that he has, you're going to get half what you could today. With maybe Miles Sanders, they might give a little bit, but Saquon, he's already had a couple. Mixon's already been shown that he's injury prone at times. Sooner or later, people are just going to attach that to them and not want to pay the proper value for them anymore, no matter how much you try to sell them. He's got Brady as his number one QB, and he's got Kyler. I mean, Kyler's a stud, but Brady's a year away from, any year now just retiring, and he is screwed. And the problem with all this is same thing we've been seeing. He likes to front load. He did it in the other league. He does not have the picks to replenish his QB or his other to get another star wide receiver or anything like that. So he's got to flip some of these running backs now. Get some other positions filled out. Running back's the easiest one to replace. He's gonna be another. It's gonna be another year where he finishes in the 8 to 12 range. He's just got most of his stock, his capital, in the most injured position in fantasy football. On to the Sharks team. Now this team, TTG, I'm impressed. Now you see he's got the number 1 overall pick. He finished dead last. How? You're asking yourself. His team was just never consistent. He started to turn on near the end of the year. Michael Thomas, A.J. Brown, Mike Evans. I mean, that's as good a receiver group as you can ask for. Saquon Barkley, James Robinson, great running backs, right? Kirk Cousins is a low-end on QB1 maybe, but definitely QB2. You can get by with that. You got Daniel Jones, Who knows what's going to happen with him. Dallas Goedert, again, his Philly love. I like this team. I mean, his starting lineup just was inconsistent. That's what screwed him. And that's not his fault. Like the other teams, we can say maybe didn't manage it right or whatever, and that's all of our opinions. Now, this team, I will say, lacks depth. So, again, another thing I've noticed with TTG teams, he likes to try and front load them, even though it maybe didn't happen right in the other ones. But this one, again, we've seen the poo-poo names. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Alshon Jeffrey's going to be fired any day now. T.Y. Hilton's getting up there in age. He might not. I don't think he's going to be a Colt, and I don't think he's going to be a stud anywhere else. Quarterbacks, blah. Again, Superflex, he doesn't really have it. And you go down the list, you're like, okay, Brashad Perriman, maybe he catches on in the right place. Here's why he doesn't really. I'm not going to bust his balls for that one. 6 picks in the 2021 draft. He has 6 picks in the first 2 rounds. If he is primed to have a good year. His team started to come on the second year. Nobody wanted to play him because they were all fighting for a playoff spot. He was taking down playoff teams, or at least putting up competitive battles with them every week. I think this team with TTG reaches semifinals. Could do it as of right now, depending on his picks. I would actually maybe try to trade some of this draft capital to get some more established players with the team that he has already, instead of risking it on some more rookies. But that's up to him. I mean, he could easily draft and he picks studs. Great. But right now, man, he's sitting pretty. He needs another young starter QB though. I think he needs that because it would suck to have his team fall apart just based off not having two regular starting QBs, especially with Daniel Jones. He kind of waffled there. You know, at times they were like not even. They were thinking about even starting. Who is it? I can't even remember his name now. The old Texas quarterback. Well, he used to be a quarterback for the Washington football team. That's all you need to know. That's how bad he was. But I do think he makes the playoffs. I think he makes some noise in this league. I think he is a Cinderella story where he goes from last place to being a team nobody wants to play in the playoffs. On to Bankhead, and we're going to start off with his great pretender. Okay, that's the nickname that we gave his survival team because this team should not have been in the playoffs. He rode the shit out of Patty, Dalvin, Aaron, Myles Gaskin last year. And it worked, man. It got him into the playoffs. Unfortunately, the wheels came off. He got destroyed in the playoffs. Judy, inconsistent with inconsistent quarterback play. Devontae Parker had Tua thrown to him. Again, inconsistent play. Henry Ruggs, great highlight reels, every now and then, but definitely not a fantasy stud by any means. 26 catches. I don't know why it's not showing there. It's the stats. Yeah. So his receiving core needs a little bit of work. His receiving depth chart is as barren as his draft picks. So again, we go down to a bank. I don't know why he started doing this recently. I guess he's trying to build and win now, trying to make some money, but no picks really. Third and fourth. These just have. I don't know. Maybe he's been taking some notes from Tico. He's got his second quarterback starter in Big Ben. Everybody thought he was going to retire. He's coming back, but even still down the stretch, he was a shell of his former self. I don't even know if that's what you want to have starting for you. He may end up putting a running back or wide receiver in there eventually, because Big Ben was struggling there near the end. He's put himself in this position of, okay, I have to win now with the capital that he's invested. Unfortunately, in this league, there are other teams who did a better job of winning now, and they have their picks. I think this is ultimately going to end up costing him Patty, and I know Bank loves Patty. He has him pretty much in every league that he can. But I honestly don't see how he does a rebuild without selling Patty, and I think we're approaching that apex where he's going to have to, like, damn, I'm going to keep making the playoffs just barely, and then get my ass kicked. And I know, I know that he loves to win. Bankhead is all about winning and being the champ, and he's got the bravado. He lets everybody know it. I just see no way in hell he does it with this team, as it's currently constructed. However, Bank has pulled off some big deals before, so I'm just saying that's why I said currently constructed. He could change things around, who knows? But right for now, he's perpetually going to be 6 through 8. He's going to be just making the playoffs, just missing, and he'll win some, he'll lose some, but I'm not worried about him ever winning a championship if he doesn't make some moves. At least for not this year, if he doesn't do anything. Moving on to Savages. So in Savages, I see a team making the playoffs easily. He has a replacement QB for 15 years, so he's got Matt Ryan, but if Joe Burrow was showing that he was the real deal, so he's good there in a one quarterback league. You probably don't have to worry about this position for 15 years. He has a bunch of lottery pick wide receivers, so you see he loves his Ty. He's got Brandon Ayuk, okay, but what's going to happen with Kittle and Debo coming back? And again, there's Devontae. If you go down to his receivers list, Paris Campbell got hurt, but he showed he could do something in one game that he got to play. He's got Donald Peoples-Jones, Nelson Aguilar had the big year. Van Jefferson could be taking over that slot spot. Now that Reynolds is probably going to be getting out of there, getting replaced soon. And he's also got some decent just names that can fill in on if there is an injury. If you don't want to risk it on a lottery ticket, and Marvin Jones, and as I said, Aguilar, and then Watkins. Like they're just steady. You know, they're not going to make him lose a game. They're not going to help him probably win a ton of games either. Tight end is not as pretty, as his top two are basically career underperformers. You've got O.J. Howard, who's never really, been the player that they thought he was going to be, and Eric Ebron, who was already on the second team. He was even benched last year because he couldn't hold on to the ball. He needs to invest in getting, I think, more consistent wide receiver too. Doesn't need the studs, but he needs to get players in that echelon of like the Terry McLaurins, who could be a wide receiver 1, but is definitely a wide receiver 2 at the moment. His Brandon Ayuk is a good play there, and I think that's what he was trying to do by obtaining shares of him. Looking for more people potentially the Michael Pittmans. He needs to rebuild this, start getting some more youth here, start replacing some of those just okay people that are older on his team. Henry's going, but he's got okay running backs. He's got Darrington Evans, who's already got his backup. He loves 49ers running backs. He always has them. So he's got running backs that can't play. I'm not too worried about that. They'll get points for him. Now here, he's sold out his picks this year, but as you can see, he hasn't touched the future years, so he's still got a chance to rebuild. I see him falling in the playoffs if moves are not made in this league. I think he needs to somehow if he wants to make a push in this league and just say I'm going for the championship, this stuff needs to disappear again. He's gonna have to pull a Tico to try and somehow get better wide receiver / tight end talent. Then he'd have a scary team, but it also might be glass. He might be just getting starters and not having the depth. I kind of like what he's been doing. He's been rebuilding in this league and making the playoffs at the same time, kind of playing both. I think he just needs to keep hitting on some of these lottery tickets in the playoff, like the Parrish Campbell, the Van Jeffersons, Donald Peoples-Jones. Just one of two of those hits and becomes a wide receiver 2. Maybe a high-end wide receiver 3. I think he can get by with what he's got, and he can beat somebody on any given week, but he will never, with the current lineup, he's not seen as the dominant team. Alright. I saved the most for this one, Bank, just for you. Come to our champion. Oh, wait a minute, let me rephrase it. Our back-to-back champion. His crown jewel in the House Husband League. We always hear back-to-back, but Bank's already done it. This team passes the scary test. So when you look at this team, you're like, I don't want to face them. Definitely not in the playoffs. For Christ's sake, he has Claypool on his bench. People are trading to make him their wide receiver 2 right now, and he's using him as a bench sitter. Where is he? There he is. It's just crazy, and he's got Donald Peoples-Jones, got T.Y. Hilton. His running backs, he's still got he's covered himself with backups, but he's still got he's got 2 RB1s. He's even kind of covered himself for when this league does trade. Right now, this league is a QB1. He's already kind of covered himself for eventual Superflex. He's got Patty, right? He's got Daniel Jones, okay? So he had him in other leagues. Right now, he's the starter. He's got Matt Ryan. That doesn't really count because when we transfer, he'll be close to 40, so he'll probably be gone. But he's got Winston and Heineke. Both could start. Yeah, they're long shots. But the point is they're just not. He doesn't have duds sitting here like the Andy Daltons of the world, people that are never going to start again for the most part. I still can't go. Claypool is literally the conductor of the hype train, and he's sitting on his bench. It's just ridiculous. The guy has Levante David in his IDP spot. That's his 3rd linebacker. Are you kidding me? Most of us would have him as our number 1 linebacker. It's just a lot of nice luxuries that he gets to have based on how he's built his team. Um, he also has a chance. I thought about this, to have the number one QB overall, to have the number one running back overall, and to have the number one wide receiver overall. He could have the number one and two wide receiver. It's 100% possible. Um, tight end's a little, I don't love Evan Ingram, but he can be a big player. He's got Cole Kmet, Hayden Hurst, Tyler Higbee. I mean, he tight ends, when you get into that 5 through 15, they kind of squish together. So he will have somebody who can start there and get him through. As for predictions, I'm going with Dew Theory. He's gonna. I think Bankhead's gonna be the number one seed. I think he will have a bye. He easily makes semifinals. I'm going with Dew Theory, saying that we have a bunch of new owners in this league. Moves have been made. He's made moves. I think it finally catches up, and Derrick Henry runs out of steam in the week 15 or 14, whenever the semifinals takes place. And I think he has a bad week, and I think he finally gets dethroned. He has spent a large amount. You see no first and no seconds at all for the foreseeable future building this team. He's currently trying to get back some second round draft capital. He knows he's getting a little older here, but I think maybe maybe it's wishful thinking. I'm hoping that his team kind of falls on its face in the playoffs, because it would suck for him to be a 3-time in a row champion. But his team is definitely scary and has every chance of doing that. Alright, well, that's it this week, guys. Sorry it was just me.